Ms. Freeman?
My name is Elizabeth Freeman, and I graduated from McDowell this year. And I played lacrosse all 4 years, so I traveled a lot. And going to all the Pittsburgh schools, I can honestly say that McDowell is the worst one that I've ever been to. Not like it's old, the hallways are cramped, it's just bad. And the sports facilities, the ones in Pittsburgh are so much better. I'm not saying because our trainers are really good, I'm not saying it's because of them, I'm saying it's because our facilities. They're not good, they're out of date. And when I was in intermediate, I had to travel. I think everyone has to travel. And during the winter, it's dangerous. I'll say I fell a few times. And it's dangerous because I got hurt. I didn't like traveling from school to school. And there's a period in between each school day called revolving period. And on Tuesdays, there's activity. And if you wanted to sign up for an activity that's in a different building, then you have to travel to that building, and it would give you barely any time for that activity. So I would just like to say that I'm for combining the schools and getting a new school because our schools are very out of date. And moving the football field to the other across the street, I'm for that too because McDowell always says 30 teams, 30 sports, one team. So why can't all of our sports facilities be in the same area for a nice sports complex?
At this time, we're at an hour, and we would need a motion to extend the time again.
Motion.
I'll second.
Third.
What's up? There was a motion and a second.
Was there two?
Yeah.
I had a motion. John motion.
We need to vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Stratton?
Doug Stratton. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired about reading nothing but negative news about Mill Creek Township School District. I think it's time that we get together and we do what's right for the students and we do what's right for the taxpayers. But that can be done at a lot lower price tag than $100 million. If we start where we can agree that this school is way beyond repair, because it hasn't been taken care of, but not because it can't be. We can agree that the two architects both said that this building is structurally sound and can be refurbished. They made strong points in their presentation that that can be exactly the case. So let's consider the differences. Well, we're in a big meeting room. This wouldn't exist if they tear it down. I don't know about you, but it appears to be usable. And if we spend a lot of money down there, why can't we spend some of the money up here? If we tear this building down, we're down to one cafeteria. It was said that each lunch period would have 600 to 800, did you know this? 600 to 800 students having cafeteria time at the same time without expanding MIHS's cafeteria. I don't know about you, but discipline seems like a big problem. They're talking about being late for class. Are you going to serve 600 to 800 meals within, what, a half hour? Right now we have 2 cafeterias. I say let's keep that. If we tear this down, we will have 2 gyms down there according to the plans, unless we want to spend an additional $2.5 million to build a 3rd gym. If we keep this building, we already have 3 gyms. We can use that $2.5 million for a number of things. Better labs, better equipment. What we need to do can be expensed on that $2.5 million just about. We have a field. We have $1 million said put away to resurface the track resurface the field. Let's do that. We don't need to move it. The biggest game that we ever played all year will never be played there again because it's a charity game between us and Prep. That will be at the stadium. We don't need 5,500 seats. The bottom line is, unless both architectural firms change their design, this whole structure is built on pods. They said this is the acceptable way that we're teaching our kids. The one gave an example of his first grader being with a fifth grader, like that was a great thing. But that was very developmental on the point of pods. Pods are elementary school designs. They are not for secondary and high school. Try and find it anywhere on the internet that you can find a high school that uses pods anywhere in America. The architects said of new buildings, 20% are doing pods, 80% are doing traditional. Of that 20%, if you look for secondary, won't be 1%.
Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, members of the board, members of the public who have attended this evening. I've been attending these meetings since about mid-December of last year, following the events of what is going on, and I can tell all of you that this board has spent a lot of time and effort in looking into all the various options and responding to all the various questions and doing the best they can to try to come up with a decision that is best not only for the taxpayers of Mill Creek, but more importantly, frankly, from my perspective, to the students of Mill Creek. I've yet to hear again any comment about that nothing needs to be done, so doing nothing is not an option. And when you look at what the options are in terms of what has to be done between a renovation and a consolidation, it really, from my perspective, comes down to a handful of issues. First issue is, well, what do you do during the construction? What is the impact of either a renovation or consolidation on the existing students? Consolidation will have a much lesser impact on the existing students, which may be 2 or 3 grades of our students having a lesser impact than a renovation may be. In a renovation, students are going to be displaced, so it's going to be much more difficult. The educational system will have a much more difficult time. So what do we do with those 2 or 3 years of students? We just say, oh, well, too bad. I think that's not to me, that weighs in favor of consolidation. When you look at the effect of the space difference between consolidation and renovation, consolidation is going to be about 90,000 square feet less than renovation. There are going to be some significant savings that are encountered by having that much less space. You save in maintenance costs, you save in heating costs, you save in labor costs. Again, from my perspective, that weighs in favor of consolidation. When you look at the costs, you look at the cost of renovation versus consolidation. We have one architect who's essentially saying it's about the same price. We have another architect saying the difference might be 20 or 30 million, depending upon what specific avenue you take. At the end of the day, until whatever choice is made and the designs are made, we're not really going to know what the final price will be. But I think this board has done its homework in order to determine at least some sense of what those prices may be. And in that range, that price range, the ultimate effect on the taxpayer, when you take into account the savings that would likely occur as a result of decreasing by 100,000 or 90,000 square feet, are going to be negligible. So frankly, I think at the end of the day, the cost, whether you renovate or whether you consolidate, it's pretty much a wash. It's not going to be a significant difference at the end of the day. 2 things I would like to point out with respect to that is, one, when you renovate, you're assuming that what you're going to find once you tear everything apart is going to be in good shape. Usually that's not the case, and so I wouldn't be surprised, frankly, if renovation costs exceeded what some of the projections would be. And lastly, from my perspective, the last issue that's important is the timing. Now's the time.
Thank you. Mr. Bogart.
Keep it short. I'm going to give you a quick history lesson. Less than 4 years ago, this whole country suffered from the worst recession in modern history, very similar to the Great Depression. The federal government bailed out banks, car companies, stock market businesses, and we are still on a rebound. Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. Having said that, I've owned property in Milton and paid taxes for 35 years. I'm worried about our future. I'm personally tired of hearing it's for the kids. And if we show any type of opposition, we are treated like child abusers. What about elder abuse? Senior citizens are tired of steady rise in their taxes over the decades. Being a member of No New McDowell, I've talked to a lot of people, some young, some old, while circulating a petition to try to get the issue put on the ballot in November. One lady and her husband have owned 5 acres for 60 years. First they bought the land and built a house. Then gave some land to their son where he built a house. 60 years ago, she said she paid under $100 for school tax. It's gone way up. Everybody I talked, I'm glad I came here because I didn't meet anybody before I came here that was for this. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, there's things you got to do with an old building to keep it going, but our economy's in a bad shape. And I just want you to keep that in mind, that what happened 4 years ago could happen again, you know. Remember what happened? I mean, where you guys been? Anyways, did you read the, and who's stealing my signs? But anyways, there was a good article in the, paper Friday, and it says, as I recall, when the McDowell issue first came up, it was a matter of renovation versus replacement, according to School Superintendent Michael Gold. To renovate the buildings would run between 15 and 20 million. Whatever happened to those original estimates? Why did it go up so high? Now you got it so to renovate would be almost as much as to rebuild. I mean, what do you take us for? With that, I got to go.
Mr. Aliota.
Good evening, Mr. Palermo, Mr. Goldie, Mr. Senate, board members, residents, and taxpayers. Gino Montagna provided the page and the paper. Lou Aliota provided the pen. Let me paraphrase what happened in 2001, a disaster. President Bush was speaking to America. In those words, which we remember very eloquently, very dramatically, we have heard from you. And on behalf of 5,000 taxpayers and residents, you will hear from us. And I waive the remainder of the balance of my time. Thank you.
Ms. Hurd.
Thank you. I'm usually the one that's the quiet one, but I am the researcher. I'm the one that looks for the answers. And tonight I represent not only Nona McDowell, but my mother, class of 1950, Mill Creek. My daughter, class of 2013, the 60th graduating class of McDowell. I've done so much research, I'm a little overwhelmed by how much I've discovered. But I do want to thank the board. I want to thank Mr. Kramer, Mr. Conrad, Dr. Ray, for our wonderful sparring sessions on Nona McDowell. They've been enlightening, they've been fun, and in somewhere there's a compromise. The thing that I want to bring up briefly, and I know my time is limited, is the fact that this all began, Dr. Ray, well before you were here. 2004 is when it started. Mr. Rankin, Ms. Williams, began with Project 720. It all started back then, and a lot of this took full motion in 2007, 2008, and was pretty much solidified by 2010, prior to Mr. Winchell's resignation. Dr. Ray, I hope that you can catch up and understand what a lot of these people are speaking of tonight. There are many issues at McDowell. There are many issues in Mill Creek at the moment. And the things that need to be fixed aren't necessarily hallways or corridors, but if we could take the time to look at the PIAA suspension, the current lawsuit at the tune of $1 million, the drug lockdowns at the school, the bored students who aren't being challenged in the classroom, and the frustrated teachers who are trying to gather the kids' attentions. A lot of the teachers have spoken, some have held back. But everybody has a voice, everybody has a concern, as we all do this evening. The goal is to find a compromise. Maybe it's time to take care of some of these issues first before we expand. The intermediate was built for a reason, to keep a large school in Mill Creek, but allow it to operate. The top 10 schools in Pennsylvania have an average of 1,300 students. The top 10. We can do that, and we will. Thank you.
Mr. Fugate.
I want to thank the board. I've spoken several times over the course of the past few months, remembering back in March when there was a question whether it would go forward. You did the right thing, slow down, get input. I think the number of people here this evening shows that there is an engagement, and many I'm sure who can't be here. You did the right thing, and I applaud you for that, because democracy is sometimes messy, but I think when the people's voices are heard, whatever the decision, people have the right to speak. They also have the right then to organize to try to get their agendas across. As I look at the issues here, it seems to me to summarize both kinds of perspectives on this. On the one side of consolidation is it could be more efficient, a better educational environment, and better safety for the kids being in one school versus traveling. The other perspective is the cost is something that the taxpayers can't bear. Educationally, whether it's pods or more of a traditional model, the key is the teachers, and that safety is something that we can work around. And as the previous speaker said, emphasis on having smaller schools and some of the issues of having a very large school. I would point out the question was raised about how does Mill Creek or how does McDowell connect in with some of the schools that we compete with. If you look at Pittsburgh, I think this would actually make us bigger in physical size than any of the schools in Pittsburgh. So that's a decision that the board has to make. So I think there's good arguments on both sides. I don't think this is, for lack of a better word, a green and a blue issue. I think there are two good arguments that can be made on both perspectives, and I thank the board for helping me understand. My thinking has shifted a bit. I still would be more on the side of trying to put our money into this building and thinking creatively. How often is this space used in the course of an academic year? Could it be torn down and space added on that would be much more efficient for our students? We started off by talking about the key. We had to do both schools in terms of a renovation, or in terms of being compensated by the state. The reality is maybe there isn't any compensation right now, so in that sense maybe we'll look at the issue differently to say put the money into here, do what's needed at intermediate, but it's a younger school, it's a more open school. For myself, I would still love to see both stay, not because of nostalgia, just it's a little smaller environment, there's ways we can work around it, but whatever the board decides, thank you for saying, taking the time to listen to the public, to engage, to discuss, and we move forward and we continue the process and the dialogue no matter what decision is made tonight. So thank you for what you have done for us.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn.
I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. One of the things I'd like to say is public school boards and educators in the United States for years now have been changing the public schools away from the traditional form, only to see the United States world rankings in education continue to drop in comparison to the rest of the industrialized nations. We are now ranked 17th in the world in science and 24th in math. How many of the countries that have passed us by have strayed from the traditional education? We need to put more emphasis on curriculum and better education and educators and less on buildings and theories. New schools do not make better students. I would like to ask the school board to put on hold their vote tonight until they can demonstrate actual proof that the pod system is a better form of educational philosophy than the traditional. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thayer.
Members of the school board, I'm Rick Thayer. I'm a resident of Mill Creek Township, and I'm a furniture salesman. Sorry. The federal government's broke, the state government's broke, 100 and some odd million, Lord only knows how far that'll escalate, could break us. In this economy, with the dollar doing what it's doing, we stand a real chance of going the way of many school districts in the state, going the way of the state, and going the way of the federal government. We can't bear the same type of debt that the federal government and state governments expect us to bear. Why do we have to do it all at once? Why can't we just take a responsible position on this, decide what the important issues are to deal with first, deal with them over a period of 6 or 8 years, and not have to tear everything down and start all over again in such a tenuous economy? If we cannot provide a state-of-the-art college prep level of education in these buildings, if we truly have that piece of crap that was referred to earlier that we can't polish up, then I have to ask you some questions. First, exactly how long have we been providing substandard education? I ask because these buildings didn't get this bad overnight. Second, if we are indeed providing substandard education, why does our published educational objective start off by touting the state-of-the-art education being provided in the Mill Creek Township School District? Third, how do we keep getting students accepted into some of the finest colleges and universities with so many scholarships if our educational facility is so poor? Fourth, granted, our facilities are in need of serious repairs, but how are we expected to believe that we cannot provide quality education? I am firmly convinced that it is folly to undertake a debt of this size to cover a project of this scope without a published plan for payback. It's no longer enough to be assured by the government officials that, quote, we have it all figured out, end quote. We all know how that one turns out. The school board is asking this community to commit to $100 million in debt. In an economy where the state is nearly bankrupt, the federal government already is so deep in debt that we don't have a plan for recovery. As the dollar continues to decline, prices will rise, taxes will rise, assessments will rise. If we borrow this much money and the value of the dollar continues its downward trend, we will not be able to educate anyone. Don't rush into debt. Rush into a careful plan and spend it like it has to come out of your own pocket. Do like we all have to do. Make a plan, set a budget, and don't spend any more than you have to. Don't set your price before you determine exactly what has to be done.
We blew a fuse with the good electricity. Probably blew a fuse.
Yeah, there you go.
Try now.
Mr. Pratt.
Go ahead, Mr. Pratt. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, citizens. My name is Jay Pratt, and I'm a lifelong Mill Creek resident, taxpayer, and voter in this community. Also, I'm a proud 1969 graduate of this place right here. This building is very much the way it was 43 short years ago, but the world has changed dramatically in that time. Then, I-79 did not connect us to Pittsburgh. The airport was smaller, but no jets served travelers. Mill Creekers were called farmers by the city residents. Computers and cell phones were far ahead in our future. Today, we travel on a non-stop cruise to Pittsburgh. The airport is growing with our region, and we are now connected with computers and cell phones. McDowell still stands proudly serving our students, but this building, like some of us, is fine on the outside, but needs some help on the inside. Like others, I believe that a quick fix for less money seemed like the best plan. But after listening to all the available information, I now agree that a piecemeal method is not the way to proceed. Doing it right the first time is the best thing for all. A Band-Aid fix only puts things off to the future where there's sure to be a higher price tag. I urge all to watch the informational show on Channel 8. It is very educational, helped me to understand the issues our board is facing. The board serves all of us with many long volunteer hours. We trust them to do what is best for the community and for now and the future. I thank the board for their work and transparency on this project and support it 100%. Also, just a quick note of information on the way in. A gentleman outside spoke to me and spoke to several people and said there's no air conditioning on here tonight. The board must want us to sweat. Well, there is no air conditioning here, so we're all sweating because there isn't any air. Thank you.
Ms. Davenport.
Good evening, Board, Mill Creek residents. I'm a 1987 graduate of McDowell High School. I'm the daughter of a 1964 graduate of McDowell High School. I'm the mother of two graduates of this high school, 2010, 2011. My son, one of my boys, that I spoke with in depth about this, He said, the school doesn't need anything. I needed books. The school didn't provide me with enough books to bring them home to do my homework. That's what this school needs. Yes, the school is warm. It was warm in 64, 65, 66, 67, 87. It's warm. So what? It's still snowing in April. What do you have? May and 2 weeks in June? When I went to this school, we didn't have a cover over the walkway to intermediate. Wow, you guys are lucky. You got one. You know, the school needs help. It needs some interior things done. It needs plumbing issues taken care of, whatever. Maybe science labs need to be updated. Villas did too. You know, it needs those things. I'm all for that. But combining the schools and increasing the drug activity, increasing the dangers of these kids all being in one school together, nah, I'm not for that.
Mr. Infeld?
My name is Fred Infield, and I'm a 37-year taxpayer in the Mill Creek school system. First of all, I want to congratulate the McDowell faculty and the McDowell facilities for the fact that they've been able to produce excellent students, excellent graduates for those students who want to get an education. Building new buildings or doing that type of thing will not get a good education for those who don't care or don't want it. I think that it's shown the gentleman before who mentioned about that we're now 17th in the world. It's hard to imagine that all of those other 16 countries have better facilities than what we have right here. I think that if the athletic facility needs some upgrading, fine, upgrade it. This is not a university. We don't have that type of competition. We should have good facilities, and it should be brought up to date. It doesn't have to be new, and it doesn't have to be on two sides of a busy street. I think that the key thing is to try to find innovation that will help some of those students who are borderline about whether they want to get an education or don't care about an education, on how you get those over that line and put them up on top with what we would like to think of as the typical McDowell graduate with an excellent education. I'm also concerned that I don't think the demographics of Mill Creek have been studied well enough, at least not that I've heard of. You have cyber schools, you have home schooling, you have charter schools, and you have an older Mill Creek population. Where does this leave the crowded stairways that people seem to have been able to get by with over the last however many years it is? And there is no reason why this entire facility should be destroyed. If you can't get from this facility to the other facility by walking through the stairway, jog. It'll be good for them. Provide some facility for those that are not able to do that, surely. But maybe we ought to have them take an extra lap around the school and then end up at the same place. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Duncan?
Thank you to the school board for all your efforts. I would just like to say tonight as a reminder I am a graduate and a taxpayer, and I know myself and a lot of the graduates that I've spoken with over the years in my class don't really care for the pod system. They much prefer the traditional block at the actual high school here. Another thing was my taxpayers, all of my neighbors. I have many elderly people in my neighborhood. I have a single mother with 2 children. They're all worried about losing their homes because they can't afford the increase it's going to cost. They're talking about actually moving out of Mill Creek Township to move to a better location with less taxes. And also, the other thing I wanted to bring up was just to go ahead and talk about, we've said before about how the teachers teach, not the buildings. The science labs, we all know that they need updating. We're all for the renovations, absolutely. Do what you have to do for the renovating, but to tear down a perfectly good building that is sound, I think is just being fiscally irresponsible. So thank you for listening to my comments tonight.
Thank you.
Ms. Nowak.
Good evening. School Board, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Janet Nowak. I'm a resident of Mill Creek School District and a former district employee. It's been said that if you're standing still, you're falling behind. I believe that it's critical for our students that we continually move our school district forward. In order to do that, the District of Mill Creek need an environment that provides opportunities for collaborative, hands-on, and project-based instruction. The current high school structure does not provide that environment. We need a school that's flexible enough to address a future that no one can foretell, that will prepare our students for a future that no one can predict. Our students need a building that supports a 21st century instruction. They need a structure that invites innovation, incites creativity, and affords opportunities for teamwork. Our students must be prepared to compete in a global economy. The current structure doesn't support that goal. As a former administrator at McDowell High School, I can tell you firsthand that the current building hinders content collaboration. It does not provide adequate space for project-based learning, and in some cases actually interferes with the learning process. A school building is actually one of the tools in the teaching process. A tool can be outdated and a hindrance that slows the achievements that we want our students to make, or it can be a building that is a teaching tool and enhances the opportunities that can provide experiences that will allow Mill Creek students to be competitive on a global basis. I would encourage the board to vote tonight to approve the consolidation of McDowell High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shimmick.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You've probably heard on TV in the political arena, it's the economy, stupid. I don't think you could possibly have chosen a worse time to decide to go into such extreme debt. The federal government now borrows 42 cents of every dollar to support all the programs that they have on their agenda. It used to be 40 2 years ago. If you read or if you see channel 40, I believe it's in here in Mill Creek, you will find that many of the people, Bernanke, Greenspan, Tim Geithner, will tell you that we are fast approaching a cliff. The financial system, not only here, but in the entire world, is in an extremely fragile position. your schools do not count on space or buildings. They count on parents who send good children there, and you have good teachers. There's a building on East 11th Street built in 1898. Some of the students that came out of that building perhaps are students who are now your doctors, your lawyers, your advisors. Perhaps some of you have friends who have students who have come out of that building. It was referred to about academy. It doesn't matter about the building. You have to teach them to read. You have to teach them how to control themselves. You have to teach them that there's a better way to live than some of the things that I understand go on. I think that putting young people in a junior high where they're just starting to change physically, mentally, emotionally, with high school students may be a disaster. They'll be influenced perhaps by people whom they respect and admire, whether they're athletes or whomever they admire, they may do things that perhaps that they would not ordinarily do if they had that 2 years to learn a little bit more, get over the problems that they're having. It may not be the thing. The other thing is you want to have a VOTEC school. Well, VOTEC has been practicing for years.
Mrs. Shimmick, your time.
Sorry.
Thank you. Chris Lawson.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I am a graduate of McDowell, and I taught in Mill Creek. I really think the fair way to go about this would be to put this on the ballot so that we as citizens of Mill Creek could have the opportunity to say whether or not we want a new school. I mean, it's a democracy we live in, and we should have the opportunity to say yes or no. I would appreciate if you would possibly think of that idea further. Thank you.
Mr. Enders. Mr. John Enders. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, School Board, for allowing me to speak. Just would like to speak on the issue of the stadium. If you have stated, if you do move it, the pathway from Sterotania to Kahi will finally get a sidewalk in. However, if you keep the stadium where it is, no sidewalk will ever be put there, and as a safety issue, I would hope whatever way you go, that you would consider adding that as a line item on your budget. I have concerns with the consolidation. 4 grades under one roof might not be the best thing, but I'll leave that to your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. I guess it's clear from the debate that's been going on for months that regardless of what side the citizens are on this issue, they are united in their desire to have a quality education from McDowell High School graduates. And to that end, I echo what some of your constituents have made it very clear to you, that you don't get that education from a structure. You get that education from the curriculum. And I applaud the school board and the administration for being able to educate our McDowell High School graduates to the level that they have, given the condition that this school is in. The school board has an opportunity this evening in its vote to either continue the divide of this community or to unite this community together as we all strive towards what's best for the students. So I urge the board to say no to consolidation and to say yes to renovation. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our visitors section. Moving forward to 4.01 is the McDowell Construction Consolidation Renovation presentation by our business manager, Ms. Lincoln.
Board needs to adjourn.
That's all right. Just go ahead and put it down. We can just stay here. You've seen it. Put it down.
It's a new presentation.
You're going to show it on your head, John?
All right, good evening. My name is Lene Lincoln. I'm the district business manager. We are the Mill Creek Township School District, and today is a special board meeting. A little bit of history of the construction project. In 2005, the district entered into a facilities master plan with a company known as ECCP. At that time, they recommended that significant work needed to be done to the McDowell High School. In 2009, we had another facility study done, this time by Halgren, Rustafo, Loop, and Coughlin. The results of that study are listed there. Excellent condition were Asbury, Asbury Woods, Bell Valley, J.S. Wilson, Tracy, Walnut Creek, and Westlake. In satisfactory condition were the bus garage, the maintenance building, the Mill Creek Education Center, and MIHS. And in borderline condition were Chestnut Hill, Grandview, the Mill Creek Learning Center, Ridgefield, Vernondale, and McDowell. It was viewed that all of the buildings in borderline condition other than McDowell could be fixed with small renovation projects through our capital projects fund. The board at that time decided to engage the services of HRLC to provide some options for the MIHS McDowell campus, considering it as one because they do sit on one campus lot, and also PDE considers it one building because of that students take classes in both buildings and share resources between both buildings. In all, HRLC presented the district with 15 potential options. Between January 2011 and April 2012. In May 2012, the board decided they wanted a second opinion from an outside agency outside of the area. We contacted 3 firms at that time and chose Stantec Architecture to provide the quote-unquote second opinion. In the past 33 months, In the board's effort to keep the community engaged, we've had approximately 36 public meetings where construction has been discussed. Throughout this process, we've put those presentations on the website, and we've also made it available for numerous right-to-know requests. So where are we now? Currently, we have on the table 3 options from HRLC. Option 1, renovate the existing buildings with estimated costs between $66 and $75 million. The range there is because of the alternates of the VOTEC and renovations to the football field. They present us with option 2, which are renovations and additions to MIHS, ranging from $88 to $93.7 million. That includes the relocation of the current football field and the ranges for the alternates of the VOTEC and the freshman gymnasium. And they presented us with a third option, which is also renovations and additions to MIHS, ranging from $78.8 to $90.2 million. And that range is due to alternates to the VOTEC, the freshman gymnasium, and renovations to the football field. This is not a question and answer period, ma'am. Thank you. We also, at this time, have on the table 3 options from Stantec Architecture. Option A, renovate the existing buildings with a range from $83.8 to $98.8 million, and that range is due to the VOTEC and relocation of the football field options. Option B is to renovate the MIHS pods. This would be a consolidation of the schools, excuse me, ranging from $85.4 to $98.2 million, and that range again due to the VOTEC and relocation of the football field alternates. And option C, which would reconstruct the MIHS pods at a cost between $95 and $110 million, with the alternates there, the price range being due to the VOTEC and the relocation of the football field. Just an overview of all 6 of the options. This is the campus view for option 1 from HRLC, doing nothing. You can see that the campus doesn't change. There are renovations to both buildings. Option 2 for HRLC proposes moving the athletic field across the street, adding an addition to the south of MIHS, a potential VOTEC and gym to the north, and another gym to the west. Option 3 also puts an addition onto MIHS, keeps the athletic field in its current location, with alternates being renovations to the athletic field, and again, the VOTEC and the gymnasium. This is, again, the aerial campus view of option 1 from Stantec, which would be no change seen from the aerial view. All the changes would be inside of the building. This is option 2 with an addition and renovation to MIHS pods, a potential design scheme. It does add an addition to the north of the building and an additional gym onto where the gym is currently located. Option C from Stantec is to tear down parts of MIHS and rebuild them, and also add an additional gym. And in this design plan, it would keep the football field where it's currently located. This is an alternate, both option B and C from Stantec, that would relocate the football field across the street and open up the Kahi and 38th side of the campus. So those are the options that the board is looking at tonight. And now you want to know what that means to you. So first, let's start off talking about Act 1. Act 1 in 2006 was implemented by the state to limit the amount that school districts could raise taxes each year. An index is set each year by the state, and that index is the maximum amount that a district can raise your taxes without going to public referendum. What does that mean in real numbers? Our current millage is 14.88%. A 3% index would bring that maximum millage to 15.33%, or 33 mils, which would be a 0.45 mil increase. That would mean $45 annually on a $100,000 home. A lot of you think that you can have a big one-time tax impact. Act 1 does not let us do this. It keeps us to the index year to year to year. And at this time, when we've talked to our financial experts and got advice from them, any potential tax increases from this project would not hit our budget needs until 2018. This is Erie County millage from all the school districts in Erie County. Mill Creek is still the 4th lowest tax burden to its citizens. 4 of the past 6 years, we've had 0% tax increases, and overall, we've actually decreased the amount of expenditures in our budget. Why do this now? Right now, we have a unique window of opportunity. I hear you say the economy's bad. In some ways, that makes it a good time for borrowing. Interest rates are low. We can borrow money for cheap. These circumstances will be short-lived and may limit our options in the future. And we'll seriously look at the way we finance compared to the debt we have now and how we can integrate that together, whether it's through wraparound structuring or refinancing of any current debt that we have. So where are we now? Tonight, the Board of School Directors will vote on the following items: to renovate or consolidate MIHS in McDowell, to relocate the football field, and to select either HRLC or Stantec to serve as their architect. And I trust that you know, and we know in the district, that they do not take these decisions lightly. Thank you.
David is doing.
.02, discussion of the contract option, construction options. Board discussion at this point. Anybody have anything to add? Which one now? That's right. Okay. Moving forward to 1403. This is the part where we decide on the renovation or consolidation. That's the first motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to move forward a motion for the Mill Creek Township School Board of Directors to engage in the consolidation project of MIHS and McDowell High School.
Second.
Not yet. We'll call discussion. Discussion on that?
Mr. President, I believe that consolidation eliminates operational costs of the two schools. It addresses and solves all the physical and curriculum delivery issues that renovation does not. We need to give the teachers the tools to help them teach a career pathways curriculum, support the differentiated instruction, learning, and facilitate collaboration between students and teachers. Changing the facility layout is crucial to help the teachers accomplish these goals. It will modernize our whole 9 to 12 grade system that will take us into the next 20 to 30 years and avoid the stagnation of only doing a renovation. The cost of consolidations varies from 1 to 27%, depending on which architect you want to believe. So renovate for another 27% in my opinion, to do just a renovation is not fiscally responsible. When for that amount of money, we can bring our grades, 9 through 12, into a new modern facility and up-to-date curriculum. Borrowing interest rates are at their lowest ever. Contractors are looking for work. We cannot afford to wait any longer, as they may go up and increase the overall price. In addition, after October 1st of this year, reimbursement from the state will disappear. I believe that it's time to match the vision of what the district views as the future of grades 9 through 12 with a facility where teachers and students can have the best operation to succeed. The present layout of McDowell does not support that vision. Everyone has memories of the school they have attended, and those memories will always be a part of us, whether that particular school is standing or not. More important than what the school looks like is what we have learned going there. I believe that we need to turn the page on the old McDowell and move forward with consolidation.
Mr. President, I would just like to mention that Mr. DePlacido said that it would cost 27%, but when I took my hands and my shoes off so I could use my toes, 27% equals $30 million. I feel that it's just too much money in the way the economy is today, as most people that have contacted me. I've had a few that are for the project, I'll give them that, but you know, an additional 20, 25, or $30 million is not chump change, and I feel that I just wanted to voice my opinion. It's too much.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. President, if I may.
Yeah.
Going through this whole process, I have to kind of go back to the history of my family.
It's hard to hear.
My wife originally moved here in 1999, and I shortly followed in 2000. And upon our discussions of coming to the Erie area, one of the major considerations that we had at that time with us not having children was school district, in hopes of someday that our family would grow. And I can say this in our discussions in planning for what may happen for us. I think we made the right decision in the long term based on the educational opportunities that this school district and what this community has to offer, not just to us, but for our children as well outside of the school district. Now, when I came onto the board originally, being sworn in 2007, and taking office again in early 2008, one of the things again was my consideration. We had a gentleman that mentioned each one of the board members here had an agenda. And yes, I will agree, sir, that we do have an agenda. My agenda quite clearly was, what can I do to help improve the educational aspects of this school district? What can I do to help the students that I've coached, that I've befriended, that I've come to know, that I've come to go to their graduation parties on the weekend, students that I've mentored, students that I enjoy spending time with. What can I do to help them moving forward into the future, as well as the possibilities that are there for my children who are still coming up in the Mill Creek system. On this board, we've spent over 2 years, as Ms. Lincoln's presentation has shown, over 33 meetings, countless hours, discussions, debates, arguments, disagreements, looking at renovation, looking at consolidation, looking about what could and should be done here at the school district, not just for our students, but for our community as well. And after all of those discussions and all of the time away from my family and here with my fellow board members, it's my opinion that the most appropriate decision placed in front of this board for our students, our teachers, our staff, our administration, and our community would be for our board, including myself, to vote for a consolidated McDowell project. The project will allow the district to not only update our facilities, but also our classrooms. It will allow for greater collaboration of our teachers and students. It will also provide us with an updated and appropriate classrooms and lab spaces, which I think is extremely important in this day and age. It will allow for McDowell to properly develop our campus system and provide improvements to parking, to traffic flow, yes, to athletics, also to community areas such as green spaces. It's an opportunity like this that doesn't come along very often, and this board this is not one that this board has taken very lightly. It's been a very stressful time. This has come at a high price for the community, both financially as well as emotionally. And you know what? This should be a difficult decision for each one of the board members up here, and I guarantee you that it is. This is something that we've discussed long and hard, like I said, for over 2 years. But right now, it's time for this board to do the project, and it's time for us to do it right, and now is the time. And for this reason, I am 100% absolutely in favor of the consolidated McDowell projects. Thank you very much.
You know, we've had an opportunity tonight to listen to a lot of people, and there is definitely a lot against, that I've heard tonight. But as which was stated before, of the support that's also there, looking at the educational factors. We heard tonight from a person that I respect immensely. Ms. Nowak, you really helped me think about what it takes to educate our kids in Mill Creek, and I thank you. And you really helped me out tonight. And everybody else, this board right here works as hard as they can to do what they can for these kids. And Brian was right, that is our agenda, absolutely. Because you know what I get with a new school or a renovation? You know what my family gets? Nothing, right? I do this because I want to do this, and you know what? I signed up to do it, and I'll do it every day of the week again. And the next thing is, if you don't like what I'm doing for the election, that is your option to vote me out, and I respect that. Absolutely. But I'll tell you one thing. Each and every decision that I make, I know I'm doing the right thing. Kids are involved. Thank you. Moving forward. Do we have a second on the consolidation first?
Yeah. Mr. Kramer.
Absolutely yes.
Mr. Palermo.
Yes.
Dr. Ray.
Yes.
Mr. Scatella.
Yes.
Mrs. Wheaton.
Yes.
Mr. Wilga.
Yes.
Mr. Conrad.
Absolutely yes.
Mr. DePlacido.
Yes.
Mr. Kobilka.
The spoiler, $30 million, no.
Next up is 4.04, the moving of the football field or keeping it in the place that it is.
Mr. President, I would like to bring forward a motion for the Mill Creek Township School Board of Directors shall move the football field and stadium complex from its existing location to the other side of Cohee Road.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President, the two architects have shown us 4 plans that will accomplish our consolidation goals without moving the field. The differential cost to move the field is approximately $5 to $6 million and does not directly benefit the delivery of curriculum. The field should stay where it is, and the money saved should go toward the consolidation project and reduce the overall cost of the project. A lot has been said about moving the field to get better student parking and help with traffic flow into and out of the area. In my opinion, student parking is a privilege, not a right, and we should not spend millions over and above consolidation of the schools to accommodate closer parking. We have budget for every student to be bused from their house to the school that will take everybody from here to there for free. Street access and traffic flow are concerns that can still be accomplished without moving the stadium. While moving the stadium does give the best solution to these issues, a compromise plan, which will save the cost of moving the stadiums, in my mind, is the fiscally responsible decision. The other schools, the football field requires work to keep it up to our standards. The big ticket items are already funded, and new locker rooms are already part of the consolidation project monies. If you compare our stadium to the others, there are some better, some worse, and that will always be true. But it has served us well and is still a great place to watch athletic events. Let's keep it there, make sure it's in good shape, and save the $5 to $6 million we would have to borrow it to move it. My vote is no.
Mr. President,
I just
again,
want to say I echo that opinion to not move the football field.
Mr. President, if I may, I think that one of the important things that I think was lost along this whole discussion about the football field was in moving this potential new stadium is that it's not just about football. It's not just about athletics. In my mind, this is a move that allows us to develop the entire campus appropriately, allows us to not limit ourselves to one side of the campus in and of itself. A lot of the original architectural quotes that were similar in cost ignore that part of our campus. And if anybody can see, looking across Kahi, I see two very large dirt piles, a parking lot that is out of place, fields that could be updated, and that allowing this football field to move allows the campus to be developed in the appropriate way, not just for the short term, but for the long-term benefit of the campus, the community, and our students. And for that reason, with all due respect to Mr. Kabilka and Mr. DePlacido, I think it would be a long-term mistake for a short-term gain by leaving the football field where it is.
Okay, moving forward.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Palermo.
Yes.
Dr. Ray.
No.
Mr. Scatella.
Yes.
Mrs. Wheaton.
Yes.
Mr. Wilga.
Yes.
Mr. Conrad.
Yes.
Mr. DePlacido.
No.
Mr. Kobilka.
No.
Last motion is for the architectural firm that we will be using.
Mr. President, I would like to bring forth that the architect of choice for the consolidation project be Stantec.
Second.
I just want to say that we had two outstanding firms that both I feel comfortable with, and I really gained a lot of knowledge, and they helped me out a lot, so I just wanted to say thanks to both of them.
Mr. President, if I may again, I just want to thank both of the architectural firms who had a chance to come in and do the presentations for us. And I want to let them know that I really respect the time and effort that was put into this. My decision, though, is going to be based on what I feel will be most in line with what the goals of our district is moving forward curriculum-wise. The plan that I feel will be most appropriate in terms of flexibility moving forward over the next generations here in McDowell. And I wish us the best of luck. It's going to be an interesting process. So thank you to both firms.
Mr. President, Stantec's plan, in my opinion, better utilizes the Mill Creek Intermediate High School space to meet the district requirement. They have engineers in the same building who will be putting pen to the paper and getting the design completed for bidding, which is a major benefit in this type of major project. If the electrical engineer needs to communicate with the mechanical engineer, they walk down the hall and eliminate any chance of delays or miscommunication that can occur with engineers from separate firms. There's a single responsibility for the architecture to the engineering design with the larger company. With either architect, there will be design dollars flowing out of Mill Creek to other firms in Pennsylvania. The larger firm, however, with multiple resources, is better suited, in my opinion, to keeping the project on track as they can control the schedule of the supporting engineers and have backups in-house.
I concur with Mr. DePlacido's remarks. I think that we're all very personally fond of Chris Coughlin and cannot deny for a moment that he has put an enormous amount of blood, sweat, and tears into this project. I said to him the other day, you know, it's probably either going to be a major celebration for you or a funeral. You're going to feel like it's a funeral if you don't get this. But this is a business decision.
And even though I'm very fond of Chris personally and think he has tons of talent, I think a project of this magnitude needs a firm like Stantec.
What's the vote for it? We have a second on it? Okay. This vote is for Stantec. We have a second on it.
Yep. There was a second.
Yep. There was a second.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kramer?
No.
Mr. Palermo?
No.
Dr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Scatella?
No.
Mrs. Wheaton?
No.
Mr. Wilga?
No.
Mr. Conrad?
No.
Mr. DePlacido?
Yes.
Mr. Kobilka?
No.
They lost 2-7.
Motion fails.
We need another motion.
We need another motion for the
Mr.
table.
President, I'd like to bring forward a motion for the Mill Creek Township School Board of Directors resolves the engaged services of HRLC as a contracted architectural firm for our renovation/consolidation project.
Okay. We had a second.
Second.
No. Good.
Okay. Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Palermo?
Yes.
Dr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Scatella?
Yes.
Mrs. Wheaton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilga?
Yes.
Mr. Conrad?
Yes.
Mr. DePlacido?
No.
Mr. Kobilka?
No.
That brings the meeting to an end. We have closing remarks.
I'd like to make a few if possible, and please bear with me. It would probably take at least my 3 minutes that I would have had if I was not a board member and was a taxpayer, just like all of you. I want to thank my fellow board members, Mr. Goldie and his administrative team, and the public for doing their part in helping the board to reach this very important decision. I want to take a few moments to explain my rationale for my decisions this evening. I believe in the educational philosophy of Mill Creek Township School District, which includes the use of innovative teaching and collaborative learning environments. I believe the move to complete each child's learning experience within the district, using the style to which they have become accustomed within the grade school and middle school environment, will complete the loop overall in their educational success. I do not believe that a building automatically guarantees educational success, but I do believe that a conducive environment is a powerful tool that, along with staff development initiatives, enables education to move beyond lecture and memorization and towards problem-based and other active learning strategies. This mirrors what students will be doing as adult students, but more importantly, as adult workers. In regard to the other aspects of this project, I thought very long and very hard about the many factors when reaching a decision. I thought of the initial donation of the McDowell family, the intent of having a 2-building campus to start with, safety, security, convenience, and cost. I did much research regarding all of the options, spoken with the architects, spent much time on the No New McDowell site, listening to the concerns of its members and their group. I have talked to numerous individuals and have received both encouragement to move forward with the consolidation and redesign building and fears regarding the costs and the impression of this being a wasteful endeavor. At the end of all this, I came away with several key factors that led me to the vote to consolidate. When inquiring about the end product of a renovated McDowell High School, at an average cost between the firms of $75 million, it struck me that the practical deficiencies of greatest concern, classroom size and shape, lack of air conditioning, stairwells that are very much too narrow for the occupancy of this building, and closing the walkway to MIHS and the science laboratories will not be repaired under the proposed renovation-only concepts. When I inquired about the estimated cost to do such improvements, the price reached upwards of $120 million. To me, spending $75 million not getting a truly desirable end product, and having the still ongoing need of servicing and maintaining 2 buildings is a much more serious mismanagement of taxpayer funds than spending additional monies for a more viable end product. Most districts these days are opting to consolidate their buildings to save in maintenance and operational costs. In our case, there is, however, an initial spend that must occur in order to create enough space for all students that must be accommodated. Secondly, I have been driving around and can't help but see the signs touting Nona McDowell. Though initially very disconcerting, this made me look a bit more closely, and I have seen a huge difference depending on which area of the community I had visited. For example, the development areas traditionally known for young families had, with the exception of 2 to 3 homes between them, no signs. Asbury Wood signs were there, but no signs related to this project. This really made me wonder why this was the case, and my hunch was that they have children with something to gain from any improvement that the school board would make. It made me wonder if the members of Nona McDowell were fighting so hard because of costs alone, because they either did not have children, had children who attend other schools, or have children who have already completed their schooling. To be sure, I just recently asked the many citizens and non-citizens on the Nona McDowell website if they would be willing to take a survey to better outline the demographics of their group. As of this afternoon, only 10 individuals said they would be agreeable to doing so out of the less than 30 regular posters and over 1,400 friends that have joined the site. I know that several do have young children, but my hunch is that the vast majority have no skin in the game, as they like to put it, aside from dollars alone. Dollars are nothing to sneeze at with a project of this magnitude. However, being led to choose the least expensive option, that in my opinion is actually wasting community monies, is not going to help the taxpayers. Finally, not everyone, but nearly everyone that I have talked with that were initially opposed to this project did not have a good understanding of what the proposals entailed. The majority thought we were planning to knock down one or both of these buildings and build brand new ones in their place. And most, after hearing the specifics of what options were on the table, believed, like I do, that consolidation is a better long-term solution. Having said all of the above, as well as my additions regarding football fields and both Mr. Coughlin and the Stantec group, as you know, I believe that moving forward, I really believe that ongoing dialogue should continue, that modifications to the current chosen plan by HRLC should continue to be talked out to make it the most efficient, cost-efficient, and strongest educational model possible for our students in our community. And I would also encourage that sections of McDowell High School, if possible, be saved. Thank you all for being so passionate about this project.
Meeting adjourned.